Hi, everyone. I'm just going to wait for a few people to head on in, and then we'll start with today's topic. And it's going to be about off-grid homesteading and my opinions on the whole thing. So, hello, everybody. Let me just... Oops. I'm just going to share the stream real quick, and then we'll get started. Is in 2 minutes, so grab yourselves. Let me just... Oops. I'm just going to share the stream real quick, and then we'll get started at 3:10, which is in 2 minutes. So grab yourselves a drink or what have you, and we'll start. Let me just see if I can get a little more light in here. All right, so we'll get started here, guys. Welcome, everybody. 1 second. Cam back. All right, so today I really just want to talk about off-grid homesteading. Why or why not? Is it even a good idea? So basically, I just want to give you my opinion on it. Now, this is my opinion. Obviously, you're going to have different opinions on it, just depending on what you want to do on your homestead. So I've been talking to Jesse about this quite a bit, actually, and we're like, would we ever go off grid? Now, that's a question that we get all the time from people on our Facebook pages, on my Instagram, all over my social media, really. People ask a lot about off-grid homesteading because everyone wants to be self-sufficient and reliant on themselves rather than on like outside sources like the government or industries to support their lives and to supply them with the things that they need. So, of course, it's a great idea to try to be as self-sufficient and self-reliant as possible, right? But is off-grid homesteading really your end goal? Is that really what you want on your homestead? Is that what you want your homestead to look like and to be like? Is that the goal that you want to set for your homestead and for your family? Because sometimes it may look pretty on the outside, or from what other people are doing, it looks like It's like an attainable goal, and it does look really nice. And the whole premise of being off grid sounds really nice. But is it like something that you can actually attain? Is it attainable? And is it something that you're actually going to be happy with if you really do, you know, start living off the grid? It's not all that it's chalked up to be. There's a lot of work involved with just supplying your family with the things that they need, especially when it comes to power and power generation. That is like a big infrastructure that you're going to have to take upon yourself. The reason why we have the power, electricity, water, and all of the things that we need so abundantly um, in our first world country is because that's the things that we want. Those are the things that we need to sustain our way of life. Nobody really wants to live like they're in a third world country where you have to be, lugging bins of water or having power outages every few days or every few hours. That's really not a good way of living, really. You want things to run smoothly. You want to have everything be nice and streamlined, right? So let me just see if I can. The stream's cutting out for you guys. My internet is slow. I'm sorry. Let me just check and see what I can do here. 3. Um, Let me see if I can switch this out. Can you please turn it down there? Thank you, bud. Okay, just give me a minute here. Let me see if I can work on the buffering. Again, so this is another thing I want to tell you guys. Internet in the country is slow, right? So if you have, if you're living in the city and you're dreaming about homesteading, just know that you're gonna have subpar internet connection. It's not gonna be as fast and smooth and streamlined as it is in for city connections. It's just not. Um, so we always have issues with that because it's just not as fast. It's pretty slow. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm hoping that's better. It probably isn't though, I don't know. Let me see. Um, Let me try and edit a couple of the settings while we're in here. One moment. Okay, 1 second, everybody. If it doesn't work, I'll probably come back on. Won't be later. Later is always slower. So.
Hey mom, can I watch this at school?
Okay, let's see. I'm live right now. Okay. Thank you, bud. Or in the middle of winter, there isn't enough solar power coming in for me to generate the power I need to power up my battery packs. Those are the types of things that you're definitely going to have to worry about when you're living off grid. And all of the off grid people I know have had to upgrade their systems at least 3 times in the past few years. Like within 4 or 5 years of them being in their off grid home, they have to upgrade their systems 2 to 3 times. Not because something's broken or whatnot, and that does happen quite a lot, but because you a typical family uses so much more power than people realize, so much more electricity, and just generating the amount of power that you're going to need for all of your freezers, fridges, water heaters. Like there are so many things, right? And all of the power you're going to need just to have for your barns and all of your outdoor lighting, your indoor lighting, all of the computers and electronics that you have, all of that stuff uses power uses electricity. And if you don't have the electricity available, well, then guess what? You can't power up your devices or your power tools. You won't be able to plug in your freezers that, has all of your meat for the year. And, if you have a power outage, or if one of your solar panels breaks, or one of your battery packs isn't working, or something happens, then there's a big potential you could be losing your food. Just being out of power in your house is a huge deal. Like, for example, if you're incubating eggs and all of a sudden your power is gone, all of those eggs that you're incubating are probably going to die within a day if the power doesn't come back. So with me, with city power, I rarely have to worry about that. Of course, we do get power outages. Maybe once or twice a year we'll have a power outage, but that's a rare instance, and I don't have to do anything to get that power back. I don't have to go outside and do a bunch of work trying to get power to come back to my house. It all is done externally. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is literally tap a little thing on my app that says I have power outage, and the city comes out and fixes it and does what they have to do, and I'm back up and running in a few hours. For me and my family, that's exactly what we need. We don't have the time or the energy or the know-how or the money to put into supplying our own power. When you live a homesteading life, you're on well water, so most of the times you're providing your own water. You don't have to pay for water. You're on a septic system, so you don't have to pay for wastewater, because when you live in the city, you have to pay for the water coming in and the water going out, like wastewater, right? But on a homestead, you really don't. You already provide so much for yourself. Trying to also provide electricity and power is, I feel like it's going above and beyond what a typical person needs in their life. Now, if it's something that you have the know-how and you really, really want to provide your own power, absolutely go ahead and do it. There's really no shouldn't go off grid if it's something that you have the money, the know-how, and the infrastructure for it, right? Like you have to have the infrastructure in place in order to build your off-grid system. You can't just buy a couple of solar panels and think you're going to hook up your fridge and your freezers to it and power your whole house like that. It's not going to work like that. You need a huge battery pack system. You need probably like an entire like building where you keep all of your batteries, because in order to power a whole house for yourself, the amount of batteries and the amount of power you need to generate is pretty astonishing, especially when you have freezers, and if something happens, you're going to need a generator. And can you hook up a generator to your off-grid system? There are so many things that you would have to take into consideration when you're trying to provide your own power. A lot of people don't really realize just how daunting of a task it is to provide your own electricity. That's why it's so great to live in a first world country. That power is something that is just a given, right? Having electricity is not something that you have to go out and procure yourself. It's literally just part of your life. Like every house you move into has electricity. And that is a great thing. Like I think a lot of people in the homesteading community really believe that you have to go back in time and live like your forefathers, when your forefathers would have killed to have electricity, running water, and power at the flick of a switch, right? So I like to take advantage of the modern conveniences of living in a modern world. And living off grid, of course you can have all of that, but again, it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of infrastructure, and there's a lot of like just manpower that you're going to need. Like if something breaks, you're the person that has to fix it. There is no power company that you're going to call to say, hey, my power is out, please come put my power back. No. If it's off grid, you have to know how to fix that yourself. You have to know how to contact the company who installed your solar panels or your battery systems and whatnot. All that is going to have to be fixed and mended by you. And if you don't know how to do it, then you're probably fresh out of luck, or you're gonna have to call someone, get someone else in to come and help you fix it anyway. So is it really worth it for you to do all of that, have the stressors of not being able to use the power as you need in your life, especially if you have young children? The amount of power you're going to need is just astonishing. Like, flicking on and off lights every day is enough just to, for me to steer clear of being off grid, because I plan on extending my family. I plan on having more children. And with that, if you're in an off grid house, you're going to have to extend your energy sources. You're going to have more power as your family grows, as you gain more things, as you buy, if you buy another freezer, you're going to have to think, okay, I'm going to need this much more power to power that freezer so I keep my food fresh, right? If I'm running an extra piece of equipment that day, I'm going to have to make sure I have enough power in my battery packs to make sure I have the power for that day. So there's a lot of stuff, especially the biggest part for me that I would, that makes me stay clear of wanting to be off grid, is just the know-how. Like, I already have enough things on my plate, and so to go and learn a whole other system, to power my house, and then having that be all on me and my family to figure it out and to fix it and mend it and do whatever you need to do, it's just, it's too much for me. So I wouldn't do that. That's why I tell people, like, when you're if you're really starting want to get into homesteading, just get a homestead. Start wherever you are. Start with a small garden. Start with a few chickens, a few laying hens. Get a couple of ducks, maybe some meat rabbits, and then just slowly expand from there. Because if you just jump right into it and you get into an off-grid situation, and all the things I'm saying, like power outages and battery packs and not having enough power, which is the main concern I see, everyone who I know who's homesteading off grid, they all talk about the fact that they just can't generate enough power to live comfortably, to do the things that they would normally do if they were living in a house that was just a regular, on grid system, right? So, yeah, just having enough power to power everything. And imagine, like, if you're homesteading, you need to have your freezers. Like, you have to have two, three, maybe four freezers, a couple of fridges. Like, I have two fridges and a freezer full of food that I have to have for my family. And if I'm on an off-grid system and something happens and I'm not able to fix it or mend it in time, I could lose all of my food. Whereas, again, if I'm on grid, within a few hours it'll get fixed. Like, I'm pretty sure it'll get fixed, right? And I don't have to have the know-how how to fix that. I'm not an electrician, neither is my husband. So, getting into that is just something that, if you don't know what you're doing, you can be way in out over your head, and it can be really daunting. So my number one advice is, if you're going to try and live off grid, do a lot of research and find out what you're getting yourself into. And I would even advise you not to go off grid with your first homestead. Just do homesteading in general, and then once you figure out what you want for your homestead, like, what's your end goal? Like, are you trying to grow a big garden and can a lot of vegetables? Are you trying to provide a lot of meats for your family? Are you trying to provide power? Are you trying to be completely off the system and off the grid? Depending on what you want, you might not even want to be off grid. Or if you want to, like, have your own system and have your own homestead be its own little micro climate, and you guys do everything for yourself, well, then, yeah, you certainly can. And I think you should, probably go visit a few homesteads that are off grid, just so you can get a feel for what it actually feels like. Talk to people that actually have off-grid homesteads, and see what it's like to actually live in a place like that, and what you're going to need in order to have a life that's similar to the ones that you've been living, which is on grid. Like, my brother just moved out to the country in New Brunswick from Ontario, and they're shocked at how slow their internet connection is. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've been living in the country for 10 years and I've been telling you guys the internet connections are slower. It's just part of living that life. So if you don't have someone to tell you that and to prepare you, you could move into the country and then be completely shocked that you can't run your devices as you normally would. You can't stream the shows or whatever it is that you normally would do. You have to have a backup plan for that. So for me, off grid living is just a whole bunch of other work and headache. And a lot of people paint it in a very rosy light, like it's so it's everything that you've ever dreamed to live off grid. But really, is it really when you're constantly there fiddling with battery packs and solar panels and mending and fixing things? It's probably not all that great, especially in the middle of winter when we don't have that much sun, and you have to conserve and watch the amount of power you're using. You can only turn on one light in the entire house because you're afraid, to overwhelm the battery systems, because in the wintertime there's no sun to, to store the batteries, to store the power in the batteries with. So yeah, there's a lot to take into consideration when it comes to going off grid. And for me and my family, it's not something we're going to get into. Within 2 years, we have a long term plan that we're going to buy a bigger homestead in a couple of years. But there are so many off grid options, and people are like, well, why not go off grid? And, as a homesteader, I can tell you there is enough work, enough know how, and enough things to learn just trying to provide food for your family, let alone trying to provide your own power and then your own water and your own septic. And all of that stuff is on you as the homeowner. It's no one else is going to come and rescue you when you run out of power in the middle of winter. So, yeah, just take that into consideration. And all of the beautiful images and all the people you see online living the life, that you think you want to live off grid and you don't have the government interfering and whatnot, that all sounds rosy and beautiful, but is it really attainable, and is it something you actually want to do? Because there's a lot of stuff like that you'll dream about having, but in reality you don't actually want that dream to come true, right? So yeah, just take all that into consideration. Do your research and do your due diligence. Visit a house that's off grid. But when we were purchasing this home, we went to actually an off grid house, and we just didn't like it at all. Like having the solar panels on the property and on the roof, and it just visually, it was just an eyesore. I don't like how it looks. I don't like the feel of it. The house itself was very small. Things had to be on such a small scale. Everything was just, it was like going back in time and living in a time when we didn't have such an abundance. And I like to have abundance in my life. If you're a type of woman that likes to have, the power working in her home all the time, the freezers working, not having to worry about how much power I'm using, that's a huge thing, because worry is something I don't want to add any more worry to my life living off grid, when I actually don't need to, right? It's not a need, it's not necessary to do that. It's more just a want, because at the end of the day, we have all the power we could possibly ever need. And of course, you're gonna have to pay for it, but you have to pay for everything in your life anyway, right? So that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to pop on here and talk about off grid and why I won't ever go off grid and why it's just not for me, and my family, and how we like the conveniences of modern life. And I live in this country because I want to take advantage of all of the beautiful things that make my life easier and less stressful. And my living on a homestead is me trying to get to a simpler time. And being off grid is not simple, actually, it's quite complex. Well, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I know this was very buffery, and very choppy. I'm sorry about that. My last stream was so smooth. This one was just not at all, because whenever we have bad weather and overcast, we do have a bit of like internet connection issues. So today is one of those days, but I wanted to talk about this and get it off my chest. If it's not a good enough video, I'll just come back on tomorrow and I'll just reiterate what I said today. But I hope you guys enjoyed my talk. Please make sure you like the video. It really does help me out. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, you don't have to agree with me. And that's fine. Everyone has theirs. And I want to know what you guys think about my talk. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for joining me. And hello to all of the people in the chat. Michael, Leo, Purple Rain. Hi to Purple Rain. You've been such a great subby of mine. You're always here. Thank you. Love you. And Gail Nelson, thank you guys. Hi. It's your first time, Gail. Please make sure you subscribe. Okay, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. I will talk to you guys in the next one. I'm going to try and come back live tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll be a lot less chaotic. It's also Halloween today, so I'm thinking people are just, I don't know. We're going to go trick or treating in a couple hours. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And let me know what you think in the comment section, okay? Stay peaceful. Bye.